right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first Talk, Listen, Share of 2024. It is a Shay's Warriors Life After Cancer online educational program that we've been running for several years, not 7 years, but about 5 years. And Shay's Warriors is a 501c3 nonprofit with an all-volunteer board of directors that was formed in the Coachella Valley to help our cancer community thrive after treatment is over. The mission of Shay's Warriors is to inspire, inform, and empower through health, fitness, and the mind-body connection to heal survivors and their families through a national network of support. Our Talk, Listen, Share community was formed as part of our online educational outreach to support each other through survivorship and thrivership. Talk, Listen, Share is hosted by our board members every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, typically by myself, Dr. Sonia Fung, Shay, and Marissa. We also have our Jeannie and Amy as part of our educational committee, and also Elizabeth, who is a cancer warrior and survivor. And so we have a lot of great topics that we will be getting to this year. And we are super excited tonight to start this new year with a very important self-care topic as a foundation for our health. And we're stoked to have our special guest tonight, Emily Schmookler, who is a yogi, Ayurvedic practitioner, and a cancer survivor, and she will be educating us about Ayurvedic medicine and how an Ayurvedic detox can be a helpful tool for setting the health tone for 2024. A little bit about Emily is that she is the founder of Joyful Me Healing, supporting others in their healing journey and encompassing all her modalities of Eastern teachings. Her passion to help others heal through sacred Eastern medicines deepened as she integrated yoga, Ayurveda, Reiki, and Western medicine in treating her own endometrial cancer. She has been teaching yoga for 12 years, recently incorporating Ayurvedic healing into her practice. She is dedicated to uplifting individuals who seek a healthier, active, and balanced lifestyle, believing simple nutrition, movement, breath, and meditation can be accessible to everyone. And you can find Emily at joyfulmehealing.com, and we will have that information at the end for anyone who wants that. Okay. And without further ado, we welcome Emily.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey. All right. So we haven't had a Ayurvedic practitioner on our show before. So can you tell us a little bit about what Ayurvedic medicine is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ayurveda is a complete medical system. It is the sister science to yoga and comes from the time of the Vedas, so started over 5,000 years ago. If you're familiar with traditional Chinese medicine, it's really parallel to, there's a lot of concepts, and the medicine is very parallel to traditional Chinese medicine as well as Tibetan medicine. I kind of like to think of it as like in ancient times, there was these people who lived, up in the Himalayas, and they developed this medicine and then kind of branched down into the different areas in Eastern Asia, and then created these different modalities that were similar, but, adapted for those regions. So it's I also, in reference to yoga, yoga's chief aim is to seek moksha or liberation. And Ayurveda is really the householder practice that comes before yoga. It goes hand in hand with yoga. It is to help us exist here and thrive on, as opposed to being um, free of the body. It helps us to find balance. Its chief aim is to achieve balance in a healthy lifestyle. So it encompasses nutrition, daily rituals or routines, um, activities, yoga, breath work. All of that is embodied in Ayurvedic medicine. And then we do look at herbs and um, these kinds of treatments for more complex and advanced um, ailments that happen later down the line, different stages of disease. And that's when the medicine gets more advanced, when we start to incorporate more herbal formulations, even surgery. There's a whole surgical department. There's different departments of Ayurveda. So it is a whole. There's a lot of really um, wonderful things. It's not as well known in the West as traditional Chinese medicine. Most because TCM is licensed in the States, whereas Ayurveda is not. So um, you know, you'll find a lot of Ayurvedic hospitals in India, and then there are a very small handful of centers in the States.
And
Kind of like that's like the first, I would say, umbrella of what Ayurvedic medicine is.
okay. And you learned in this, got your degree in the States or in
Yeah,
India
so
or
I started my gateway was yoga. I am a 500-hour Ayurveda yoga teacher. I did my Ayurveda yoga teacher training at Kripalu, and Kripalu is a healing center of yoga and Ayurveda in Western Massachusetts. And their faculty, they bring in faculty from India as well as the States of doctors, practitioners, and it's really a wonderful program. And I started there, and then I continued on and did the health counselor training through them. And I finished my health counselor training in 2020 with Kripalu, and one of the faculty who um, she did her BMS in India for she would lived in India for 10 years and did her BMS there. She has her own practitioner program that she offers. And that is where I did my practitioner training, was through her, Dr. Anusha Sagal. Yeah.
so like in your experience, how can and how did you use Ayurvedic medicine as a tool for cancer support?
Yeah. So my own personal story is in it's interesting. I mean, my cancer story, I don't know if I want to go into all of that because that isn't necessarily what this is about, is my cancer story. It's more about Ayurveda. But a, a summary of that is in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, in the summer, kind of when everyone was on lockdown, I found out I had endometrial cancer, stage one, grade one. And it was devastating. I actually found out the day before I graduated from my Ayurveda health counselor program, ironically enough. But one of the things is, when I had discovered that I had these precancer cells prior to it developing into cancer, was I had thrown myself into this program because I wanted something else to focus on that inspired me, that kept me grounded, that I was learning and evolving. And so that's a little bit about the backstory of what drew me a little bit deeper into the teachings of Ayurveda. And then myself, as a cancer thriver, I utilized both conventional Western medicine and integrated Ayurveda medicine within my own treatment. And so I really found that through integrating, um, there were actually some significant changes with some of my tests that I did, where some of the cancer had I had lost weight. I had some of the cancer had gone um, away. They weren't able to find it on some of the imaging post doing a reset, about 5 weeks of a guided detox with my Ayurvedic doctor. And um, and then I ended up transitioning to working with got a second and third opinion, which I think all of us in the cancer community know to get different opinions through doctors before you move forward with different treatments. And I ended up doing hormone treatment therapy, which can be very intense on the body. I was doing oral hormone therapy for almost a year and put on a lot of weight through that and had really intense side effects. And the things that I incorporated through herbs, diet, and practices really help with my mental state. It really helped kind of counter some of the intensity of progesterone therapy, which can really spike more heat in the body, more water retention, all these different side effects that I was getting. It kind of just like kept it here as opposed to letting it really wreak havoc on. That was my personal experience. Um, I've had gone through different phases of my own treatment with Ayurveda and conventional medicine for my cancer experience. And, my cancer did actually end up coming back. I went away. Yay. I was cancer
Hey.
free. And then it did come back um, after doing a really intense Pancha Karma, which actually was not unheard of because when you're cleansing and detoxing the body that much, um, some of the things that were latent in the body can come back up. It can come to surface, and so now using Ayurveda through really the diet recommendations, the different meditation, yoga. It's really taught me to have agency over my experience. It's really taught me to um, not feel so stressed out about all of the different things that can happen when we are diagnosed with cancer and then go through treatment. And then I've also, as a practitioner, worked with a couple cancer patients myself, some who are actually going through chemo and radiation and have had some really intense side effects from chemo and radiation, like rashes, like really intense rashes, inability to sleep, constipation, different things that affect our digestion. And through simple things like really not even herbs, just really simple things that I shifted with their diet, simple things that I gave little topical treatments that are all within your kitchen, within your hands reach that you can go to the store. It really empowered her and the other person that I worked with. And they had significant change and were able to get rest, were able to heal some of these really intense rashes they were getting much quicker than some of the Western medication that would suppress the symptoms as opposed to clear them up and soothe them.
So, and that sounds like super amazing. And
Yeah.
I like being in the naturopathic medical realm, definitely see a lot of parallels with that. So when you are talking about the use of Ayurvedic medicine, there is like also in like Chinese medicine, they diagnose things differently,
Hmm.
right? And you're talking about like the heat and the different, well, in Chinese medicine, it's like the the different like bitter and the dampness and the heat and the fire, and it's probably Ayurvedic is also similar in that way. They just have different terms and also a little bit different philosophy around that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can totally even simplify it more and make it really
Okay.
clear. So in Ayurveda, the science believes that each individual is made up of five elements: space or ether, air or wind. Sometimes I like to say wind because it gives you that like visual of wind moving through the body, fire, water, and earth. And so we have all of those five elements, and they break down into um, three different, we call them biological humors or doshas: vata, pitta, and kapha. So space and air are together, fire and water are together, and water and earth are together. And it really looks at the body from subtle to gross. And I don't mean gross like icky, but like gross like mass, right? And so we look at subtle to gross, and that can also happen with the smallest things that are happening in the body. So and then you mentioned bitter. And so we utilize things like the six tastes, which is really what can be very empowering for someone in their own kitchen when we look at the different seasons, right? Right now, depends on really what coast you're on. Now, we live in California, so we're pretty lucky with moderate weather. But, if you're looking at like the Northeast, people get a lot of snow. And when we're in, quote, Vata season, or the season where there is um, the space and wind element are more enhanced, we have more qualities that are enhanced at the season, like subtle, rough, cold, dry. So we're looking at the qualities of each element externally in the environment, but then also in the human environment. And the human environment is, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So whatever is going on outside, you can for sure see in the winter, we have more dry skin, we have more like rough joints. So when we look at diet and the things that you should consume, that there's two main rules in Ayurveda, which is that like increases like, and opposites promote balance or restore balance. So we want to avoid or reduce consuming foods that are going to be rough, cold, dry, subtle, and mobile foods. So less salads, less raw food, more soups, more warm, increasing these digestive spices. And then we have the six tastes, which also the tastes have each element in them. And so there's certain tastes that will increase more wind or space in the body, that will increase more fire or water in the body, or increase more earth or mass, right? When we're looking at someone who's gone through chemo and they've lost a ton of weight, we want to do rejuvenation and give them the three, have them enhance the three flavors that would increase more earth and water substance in the body, so that they can feel juicy and ripe and vital, and building ojas or immunity back in the body. And so, yeah, we use different language, but this is the way we look at. And then pathology is also very different than Western medicine. It's not treating symptoms. We look at the whole story of someone. We look at the causative factors, and then from there, we're able to either eliminate the causative factors that are, causing these imbalances of the body. And sometimes they can be very complex. There's also different stages of disease. So if someone's in a very preliminary first, second, third stage of disease, it's more of a preventative medicine. When we're looking at more advanced, it's more treating the disease that's advanced into the body. So I know I'm going a little bit more in depth, but was trying to keep it simple with like the
Yeah.
elements and the flavors that we use. You want to eat all six tastes on the plate. So the tastes are sweet, sour, salty. We know those are going to increase more water and earth substance in the body. Even some like sour will increase fire as well. And then you have pungent, astringent, and bitter. And those are going to be a little bit more they're going to reduce kind of that water and earth element in the body. And you want to have all six tastes on your plate, but according to the season, so Ayurveda believes that there's only three seasons. For, but I say that, but then we also look at like how complicated the seasonal shifts can be in certain areas. But there's if you're looking at India back in the day, they would say there's winter, late fall, early winter, and then there's spring and summer, and kind of like a early fall kind of goes together. And in summer, there's going to be more heat, so there's going to be more heat in the body. And then the transition of seasons is when we start to look at inviting these different detox programs into our diet. So we want to mitigate the elevated or accumulated elements in the body so that we're preventing disease from forming in the body. So we have summer, which the heat gets accumulated during the summertime. So transition from summer to fall is a great time to do a really gentle detox to help support as we transition into fall and winter. When it gets colder, there's more flus and cold season. You know, when we look at food, you're looking at more of these like preserved items. You know, when we're looking at like farming and local farming, you're buying more things that are going to be soaked in vinegar, right? Like we're increasing the foods that have more sour, salty, and sweet, which is why naturally people come out of winter feeling a little heavier, right? They put on a little bit of weight to protect their body, and to protect from the cold environment. And then when spring comes and the snow melts, or in our case in California, it's just like always rainy and damp, right? We want to balance that to protect the lungs and all of that like leaky mucus that starts to come out. And that's at that shift is a good time to do a gentle detox. And right now in the season, it's not quite spring yet, but a lot of us have come out of the holidays, I'm sure, feeling like a little bogged down from maybe some of the heavier foods. Your digestion can get a little weak. And so it's a good time to rebuild your digestive fire. And one of the other, I know I'm talking for a long period. I'll pause in just a moment. But one of the other thing is another great rule to follow is if it's complicated, keep it simple. So when you feel like things are complex, like your emotions, or um, you're feeling overwhelmed with uh, lack of movement, or kind of these kinds of things that happen when stuck in the tailspin of the holidays or taking time off, diving back into work full speed ahead, all of these things that kind of happen at the season, then it's a good time to simplify what you're consuming so that you feel balanced and restored. So I'll pause
Cool.
there.
Okay, so you talked a lot, like there are a lot of different points that are being made in there. Um, so one of the questions is, since we are in kind of that transitional time period, what would be, and we want to talk about, starting our year, our new year on the right foot. Um, what type of like what type of a diet or detox or something would be in general good to
Yeah,
help with that prevention?
that's a really great question. So at this time of year, you know, some of the general rules that can apply simply just to just your diet without even doing a detox. Some of the general rules would be to, again, increase more warming foods. So all of your foods being cooked, soups, stews, um, reducing kind of the raw vegetable intake. So even if you want to do salads, like cooking all of the vegetables in your salad so that they're easy to digest. When we eat raw vegetables, think about the cold food that goes inside, how much your digestive fire actually has to work to break it down to then get the nutrients and absorb in the body. So really thinking that like our digestive fire is maybe a little lower right now when the weather is colder, when there's more rain, more snow, it's cold out, reducing. So in the diet, reducing raw foods, cold foods, bubbly water, astringent, bitter, and pungent foods should also be reduced. So that can look like reducing things like caffeine, alcohol, soda, um, beans. I know that there's, and there you can do like mung beans are a really great bean because they're easy to digest, but like some of the heavier beans, or can be a little harder to digest, like black beans or the like bigger kidney beans, things like that, um, garbanzo beans. So thinking more of like the smaller beans would be more um, efficient at this season. Introducing warming spices, ginger, cumin, coriander, um, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg. Adding now this can be this can be controversial, but according to Ayurveda, right, adding more items like dairy, and dairy meaning cooked dairy. So, like having like a cooked milk can be very soothing at night, where you add nutmeg. So, boiling the milk where it boils down. We do suggest non homogenized milk, so something that is like if you have available locally farmed A2 milk, A2 comes from the Desi cows, and it's actually known that for people even who have like dairy or lactose intolerant, they can actually digest this type of milk because there's a lot of benefits for A2 milk. Um, and then yeah, eating more like soups, stews, cooking your food all the way through. Now, if you're looking for like a detox, a great way to just reset your digestive system is incorporating. Um, Everyone has this like really. Um, there was like that craze about drinking cold pressed celery juice.
Hmm.
So celery is really an effective vegetable for everyone to it has this medicinal power that it can increase your digestive fire, and it can also clear toxins, or what we call ama, in the system. So even if you've had a lot of like heavier foods over the holidays, or sweets or sugar, things like that, and you want to kind of do a little bit of a clearing, instead of cold pressed juice, just making a celery soup, or cooking the celery juice into like a water and then bringing it to room temperature, blending it and drinking it that way, as opposed to like a cold pressed juice, would be a great way to start your morning with either a cooked celery soup or celery juice, and then having later to digest, even if you just did 1 to 3 days of either kanji, which is a rice soup, or something like a khichdi, which is rice and mung beans cooked together. So you do get a little bit of protein. You can add some digestive spices that are going to be a little warming, like cumin, ginger, coriander, things like that, and do that for 1 to 3 days. And I'm telling you, you're going to be very hungry. But a mono diet is a great way to simplify what you're doing and eating. You can add some lightly steamed vegetables to as well, or just keep it simple with the if you're just doing 1 day. And then having things like broth, like bone broth or a vegetable broth, is a great way to also support in between if you're feeling really hungry and you need something to kind of nourish your system. This would be a great way to boost your digestion and an easy way to cleanse the body when we're eating things like kanji, and I'm sure you know, Dr. Fung, that kanji is revered across multiple practices of medicine. It is something that is served in a lot of Eastern hospitals when someone goes through like surgery or things like that. It's the easiest thing to digest, And that allows the body to then do its work and restore if there's inflammation, if there's, all of these things that we're talking, feeling heavy, lack of hunger, or just kind of a general malaise or fatigue. This can really allow the liver to function. It can get your digestive fires going and kind of restore you back to balance anywhere between. If you really want to go for 7 days, you could, but I say even keep it simple, 1 to 3 days. And then if you're doing this once a week, doing a kanji reset day can be very vital once a week or once a month. It can really have an effect on your system long term, as you move in through the colder season, colder months.
Yeah, I definitely grew up on medicinal kanji. And I remember, just having these very, very like very bitter teas as, as
Yeah.
a kid. And and they would try to like hide it in the kanji. So
Yes.
they would make the rice porridge, they would put the base as like a instead of water using the tea as a base,
Uh-huh.
and then they would like add some ginger and maybe add some green onions or other things like that
You
to help
can't
to
taste the
flavor
bitter.
it. And I'm like, as a child, I'm like, ugh. You know? And then now as an adult, I'm like, every time it's like, oh, you have the sniffles. Oh, we're gonna get we're gonna get some kanji. We're gonna make some kanji. And it's really a very simple, like easy to digest food, and you can throw it like bone broth in there. You can freeze it really well, so you
Hmm.
don't have to like make it again. So again, it's a love kanji.
Yeah, I love kanji, and I love doing even just a day of it.
Mhm.
If I don't feel like committing to a full, 3 to 7 days. There are plans that you can do 21 days of a reset. But those things take time to also prepare the system, and they are more individualized. And there are people who are practitioners or Ayurvedic doctors who do offer these kinds of seasonal, more long-term resets. I also, I can talk more at the end about things that I can offer, but I do see a couple questions like, um, so to answer the question around, for cancer survivors and thrivers, does Ayurveda have a specific diet to reduce of current recurrence, or is each plan individualized regardless of disease? And I would say it depends. And that's a common thing you'll hear with Ayurveda. But some of the things I just mentioned, just for like a simple reset, anyone can do. And it is important to consult with your doctor if you are in an active chemo or radiation treatment. I would, there is a second question in here that if people should wait until after going through an active cancer treatment before doing a cleanse or detox. And if so, what would you recommend as an alternative? So, working one on one with patients, each person is, their story is different. Everyone's into, as you all know, like, and the stories we've all heard from cancer thrivers and cancer survivors, like, we all have our own journey, we all have our own experience with cancer and with its treatment, and some treatments work for people, some don't. It's all based, when we look zoom out through the Ayurvedic perspective, it is based on what that pathology looks like. And so for specific treatments, it is going to be specific, but it is not conducive to cleanse or detox if you're undergoing chemo or radiation. Really, the suggestion is to promote rejuvenation and building immunity in the body. And so this is where we look at adding more things like bone broth, adding more ghee and oils and healthy things to help rebuild immunity. Um, there are some things you can do to lightly stimulate the digestion, but we also want to be careful not um, to interrupt the treatment plan, and then look at more post and pre treatment as something of a specialized, customized treatment in terms of detox or cleansing. Or I'm sure we'll go into Pancha Karma too, but that would be something that is not, it's not recommended to detox while you're doing chemo or radiation.
Would you say that incorporating like a day of like the kanji would be a very gentle mm,
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and if you are having side effects where you can't there's no hunger, or but you just need something nourishing and nutritious, doing khichdi or kanji with like bone broth, because it is just so easy to digest. If you're like not eating anything, this is a great thing to add into your diet and can be not looked at as a detox, but more of nourishment. But I would say adding some of those heavier substances like ghee or a good healthy avocado oil or something like that, that could just have some healthy fats to help ground the person who's consuming that, would be something that we would recommend. Or even cooking in some like shredded up, meat, depending on what is appropriate for that person if they consume animal products or not.
so you mentioned very briefly the
Hmm.
Pancha Karma Detox, and that
Yeah.
is a very specific type of detox. Can you
Yeah.
differentiate that for us?
Yeah. So pancha means five and karma is action. So pancha karma is five actions of detoxing. And traditionally, the I will say what the five are, not to alarm you, but just to educate. So it starts with the first one is it is induced vomiting, induced purgation, enemas, oil enemas generally, um, bloodletting, which traditionally was done with leeches, and there are still some places in India that practice that, but they also do bloodletting in a different way. And then the other one is nadi. Um, now I can't think of the name, but it's basically clearing through. Like if someone has like um, severe like cognitive issues or issues with the mind, they go in through the channels of the nostrils and do like cleansing through the nostrils. And so all that to say, it sounds really intense, and not all five are generally used in a panchakarma detox. Usually, so I actually went through a panchakarma detox myself this year. I went to India for 5 weeks, and I did 3 weeks of a 21-day detox in an Ayurvedic hospital with Ayurvedic doctors. There were nurses. They came and it was very supported and um, specialized for my specific case of what I was being treated for. And they came and, they weighed you every day, they took your blood pressure. They had 3 meals a day that were specific, that actually everyone ate the same food for the most part, unless you were starting to do one of the panchakarma treatments. So they would do really delicious vegetarian food that was cooked every day, fresh, 3 meals a day, and a snack. And then the days that you would potentially do a panchakarma, you might not eat. I had to drink 3 days of ghee, which is really intense. You oleate the body to prepare to detox. I did a purgative detox, and you take some herbs to cleanse all of the excess accumulated elements and imbalances from the body. And then they also did these therapies while you were doing that were external. So they do internal therapies and external therapies where you're being worked. Generally, it was two practitioners would work on you at once with different massage techniques, very specific to stimulating the marmas, or in traditional Chinese medicine, the meridian, the different channels of the body, and using lots of oil to help
Mm.
basically loosen up all of the um, excess doshas or excess imbalances in the body. And all of that moves into the digestive system, which is why we then do this cleanse. And then you spend about a week or more doing rejuvenation before you even leave. So you're not just like not eat, and it's actually very gentle. My experience was I felt very cared for, and it was a really gentle way uh, to support detoxing, and it's had profound, long-lasting effects in my mood, in my energy, my sleep, my digestion, and things like that. So I do see a question in the chat. How does stress play into Panchakarma detox? You did mention keep it simple. Do you have any recommendations for stress reduction? Realistic approaches, tips to avoiding stressful situations as part of Ayurvedic lifestyle that may be incorporated into the daily life of a cancer thriver. Yes. So, so can you clarify what you mean by how does stress play into Panchakarma detox?
Well, what I mean is just the idea of like preparing and maybe explaining to others what you're trying to accomplish, and um, just, I guess, being able to actually carry out a lot of the specifics of the um, Panchakarma detox. Do they meal prep?
Oh,
Things like
yeah.
that is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
more seamless and more easily approached
uh-huh.
with that idea of simplifying when someone has been through
A
been through
stressful
cancer.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would first say, so to first of all, to kind of close the loop on Panchakarma specifically, this is done in India. There are maybe one or two centers here in the States. I would recommend not doing a Panchakarma treatment unless you're being treated by an Ayurvedic doctor. And so, and there are lots of references if you're interested in looking into something like this, because it is a much more involved detox than doing something at home that's simple. And I still recommend any simple detox that you do, or reset, like I lead resets, is to also still be done with a practitioner and someone who you've consulted with first, to make sure that you're supported and this is the right fit for you. So that would be my first kind of caveat to that. In terms of stress, stress is a huge, it plays a role in every disease, and especially in the West, we have so much chronic illness, and with cancer, stress eats away at it promotes cancer. And as a yoga teacher, pranayama teacher, meditation teacher, and Ayurveda practitioner, my main goal is to help people manage stress. And um, the simple things of just having more agency over your diet, your lifestyle, first of all, that in itself is empowering and can reduce a lot of the stressors of feeling like you don't have the right nutrition or you don't have access to the right foods to fuel your body. You don't even know what you're supposed to be eating. There's a lot of conflicting information out there. And you just have to go, for me, I guess what Ayurveda helped me do, and finding these following some of these simple detoxes or resets or just nutrition rituals, routines, and simplifying some of these practices and doing them, it helped me tune into what did work for me and what doesn't work for me. And some people don't even have that understanding yet. And so, um, in terms of like approaching reducing stress, I would say practice mindful eating is the first thing that can really help, which means turning off the TV, finding a quiet place to sit. Like, yes, we do like to bring in those like really joyful connection and chat and things like that. But one of my favorite things to encourage patients and clients that I work with is called sattva boosting. And sattva means bliss or pure joy. It is these things that really I mean, this is why I founded Joyful Me Healing. It is things that you really align with that help you feel joyful. And so when you feel like you can digest your food, sitting and looking at your food, smelling it, chewing the food, sometimes it's not what you eat, but also how you eat it and how you consume. If you're driving in the car on the go, shoving in a protein bar and drinking your cold juice on the way to work and then topping it off with bubbly water when it's cold, like you might feel really frigid and anxious because you've just poured into your body all of these like intensifying things that increase the wind element, which increases anxiety and stress in the body. So, taking your time to prepare your foods, taking your time to enjoy and eat your food slowly, keeping your diet really simple, and then practicing movement in the body every day, whether it just means to get up and stretch your arms over your head, take a few deep breaths. Diaphragmatic breathing and alternate nostril breathing are my two go tos. It's safe for everyone to do. Even if you have congestion, do diaphragmatic breathing. It helps to break up all of that. Let's do it together. Let's do it right now. Let's do a round of diaphragmatic breath. Let's try it. Everyone sit up tall. And first, just take a big breath in and a big sigh out. And maybe even just put your hand on your belly as a reminder. So when you breathe in next, instead of pulling your belly back, let your belly expand and become supple into the palm. And then on your exhale, pull your belly back and empty completely out. Good. Breathe in through your nose. Let your belly expand into your palm. And exhale through the nose. Pull your belly back. Empty out. Grow tall through your spine. Let's take two more just like that. Breathe in. Belly expands. Breathe out. Belly back. Inhale. Belly expands. Exhale. See if you can breathe out a little bit longer than the inhale. Lengthening the exhale. Completely empty out. And then relax. Return to natural breathing. Just take a few moments to feel the after effects. Would you say that had a little mood shift, a little boost in how you feel? Yeah. So breathing is like one of the things that I think we breathe so shallowly, and is that a word? Shallowly. We breathe unconsciously a lot throughout the day, and just taking some moments once an hour, set a timer to take a few deep breaths. For people undergoing treatment, diaphragmatic breathing, and alternate nostril breathing pre, post, and pre, during, and post treatment. Those two breaths are really powerful, and alternate nostril breathing is great. It's called Nadi Shodhana, which means a nadi is channel and Shodhana is to clear. And so you're clearing the lunar and solar channels of the body, and it helps to clear out any stagnation of thought, any stagnation along the central channel, as well as the lunar and solar channels of the body, or the masculine and feminine channels of the body. And for people in female bodies, it also is really important in balancing hormones. And so if you practice 15 minutes of breathing through alternate nostrils a day, you'll feel a profound effect in reducing stress and promoting sleep. So these are the three things I look at: is energy, sleep, and your digestion. And those are the things that we really work on in Ayurveda. Can you adjust one thing in your diet? Cook all of your foods. If I could give one piece of advice right now, eat cooked warm foods. If you want to promote better sleep, turn off your devices an hour before bed and take some time to just put some oil on your body, light a candle, read a book, find one nighttime routine, adjust your sleep 30 minutes earlier than what you normally do. That would be my one tip. And for better energy, breathing. Take 4 to 5 breath breaks a day, especially if you're working a lot, and setting a timer once an hour, pause and breathe, 3 rounds of breath. It'll make a huge difference. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think some of those things in reducing stress can be really simple in just bringing mindfulness into how you eat, cooking your food, um, making sure that you're getting good sleep. And sleep is another really powerful way to treat cancer and to thrive after treatment as well. All your organs are working at night in your sleep, to, during the day when our digestive fire is strong, we're digesting the food, but at night we're now digesting all of the other functions are working as well. We're digesting experiences, and this is where the REM sleep comes in. We're processing. So it's really important to promote rest as well, in recovery and thrivership. Okay, I also see in the chat, thank you, Rebecca. As a thriver who underwent chemo, I was so anxious to do a detox after treatment. What time frame do you recommend folks like me wait for pursuing this? I think, even just waiting like a month after you've completed chemo is a good time to start looking at. You can simply start by doing simple things even immediately after completing chemo, like looking at how your rest is, what spices are you using, starting to kind of rebuild some of the digestive fire that maybe has been depleted in chemo treatment, and then really giving yourself a month to 6 months after chemo. So if you're feeling really anxious about it, don't do it if you're feeling anxious about it. Um, but if you're excited and you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to you know, see if I can reset my body. Detoxes don't have to be drinking juice, for 7 days. It can be very nourishing. You can eat 3 meals a day with snacks and um, consume, warm things and do very gentle things for the body and gently cleanse the system as opposed to it being this like really rough thing. And so I want us to reframe thinking about what detox means. And it doesn't have to be this, it also doesn't have to be doing like a pancha karma treatment in India either. It can be something that you do over a span of 6 months where you're working with a practitioner and you just make these really subtle adjustments over time, which is really how I work with people for the most part, are these little subtle shifts in how they consume and the rituals that they incorporate, because that has long lasting effect and makes it more lifestyle as opposed to um, doing something so intensely for a month and then what happens after that. Like it's like, how do I sustain how I'm feeling now and incorporate all these things that I've learned into my lifestyle.
That's great. Thank you so much, Emily.
You're welcome.
All right, so I think we answered a lot of, or at least got a really good idea of, in general, what Ayurvedic medicine is, how you can incorporate this into your health journey, and it doesn't have to be like an intense panchakarma experience. You can make this very like gentle and sustainable, and still have a profound effect on your health.
Yeah, I mean, take it from someone who's done that. Like, I didn't just start with doing this is 3 years after being diagnosed with cancer that I decided to do a Pancha Karma treatment. And that's only because I'm a practitioner. And I was like, I got to go through doing this, and it was because of my cancer thrivership and survivorship. But I didn't decide lightly, and I wouldn't recommend it for every person either. I would recommend more of these sustainable baby steps, because then you actually really can see, oh, I made this 1 or 2 shifts and now I'm really seeing a difference and I want to keep doing that. And then you can start adding these other small shifts as well.
Yeah. One little thing at a time.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for Emily? Now that we have her, Elizabeth?
No, I just want to tell Emily she did a beautiful job explaining. She knows through the retreat that I've had some issues with food, and the way she explained the fire element and the digestion, it really hit home. And it reminded me of a conversation that she and I shared. So I wanted to thank her, because now I understood what she meant when we were having that conversation. But it was perfect. I loved everything that you said. It really simplified everything, and it made it more inviting, and I wouldn't feel scared to try it.
Oh, thank you for saying that, Elizabeth. I love you, and it's good to see you. And I remember our conversation. I hold it dear in my heart. So I'm glad that you resonate more with what we were speaking about too.
Yeah.
Well, it is that time, and let's wrap up tonight. Thank you again so much for joining us, Emily. This was very enlightening and just a wonderful topic, and another avenue for a lot of people to explore and to be able to get healthy and get to where they want to be. So thank you again so much.
Thank you. I
Thank
really
you so much for having
enjoyed,
me.
we enjoyed your topic. I think that one of the things that Shay's Warriors and what we like to promote through education is that there's not one size fits all. We really try to bring out a variety of topics in education. And I think that not only do you educate our survivors and thrivers, but those of us who are in medicine, to remind us that, we have Western medicine, we have Eastern medicine, and you don't have to pick one or the other. I really want to make sure that our listeners and our watchers understand that it's okay to question and to look at all the different aspects of medicine. And if it's something that you are interested in, make sure that you reach out to somebody like Emily, and we want to provide those resources for you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I would also add that it is my whole journey has been integrated medicine, and I believe that's the future of medicine. I think working together with Eastern and Western medicine is the future forward for preventing and treating disease, and helping so much of the chronic diseases and cancer and specifically. And yeah, I'm happy to be a resource. There's a lot of other resources out there, and I'm happy my books are open. People want to work with me, but I also, if you're looking to just look for like a fun Ayurveda cookbook, Kate O'Donnell is she has a couple wonderful resources, and there's like all of the tastes and the elements very simply referred to in there as well. So that was, I know you asked for resources, just wanted to add that one book as a good way to start.
Perfect.
All right.
All
You
right.
have to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Yes, let's wrap this up. So if you liked what you heard and or saw tonight, we are able to put on Talk, Listen, Share through the generosity of our community partners and our sponsors, which all lead up to our I Am Hope annual Cancer Survivor Healing Retreat, where we send cancer survivors at no cost to them. We aim to help survivors get clear on life after cancer and how to move forward. And the retreat is always held in June here in the Valley. So if you like what you're learning, please go to our website and click on Give to help support our programming. And we will see you all next month at our next Talk, Listen, Share, when we talk about red light therapy and all the misconceptions that might have. So hopefully you'll join us then, and to clear up a lot of weird facts. So, all right. Thank you, and have a good night, everyone.
Everyone.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Emily. It was nice seeing everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.